Hey guys, I have a haul for you. We will jump right into it. This is from a Salvation Army and a little church thrift store around the corner. Got most of the stuff at the Salvation Army. Item number one. If you're new to the channel, my name is Matt and I sell clothes on eBay. This is a great brand to be looking out for. Typically when you find Hickey Freeman, it's a suit, formal wear. This is a polo shirt. I got it for, I think it was actually half off of $6. Can't find the tag. It's either $6 or $3. It'll sell for at least $30. Green tag, it was half off. So $3 there. If you follow the channel, you watch these videos, the bag sale is no more. My friend at the thrift store quit and or was fired, had a falling out with the shithead manager, and the manager put the kibosh on the bag sale and made it very clear to me that I would never be getting that good of a deal again. So probably not going to be going back there a whole bunch, which is too bad because that was really an advantageous relationship that I was building with that guy that was definitely leading somewhere. So I'm back in the trenches in just the standard overpriced California thrift stores, searching for stuff that has really high sell-through. Again, if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you know my whole spiel when it comes to this. I am back to basics here. I am looking for clothing items that I can buy to turn a reasonable amount of profit, at least 2 times the money that I spent on it in a short amount of time, meaning I'm looking for stuff that's in really, really high demand. Meaning the current number actives of solds when it comes to relevant keywords is at least roughly equivalent to the number of sold listings under those same keywords. This has not been the model that I've been following for the past couple months, really since the pandemic happened, but my sales have absolutely flatlined and I am returning to form here because I know that it works. So this I just grabbed off the rack. The brand, I looked it up, there's absolutely no record on eBay, but this is the kind of thing that you can just eyeball. You don't really have to run those numbers to know that somebody is going to want to buy this. You can notice the Japanese characters. I assume this is an obscure Japanese clothing line that I will research, but I don't think there will be any trouble selling that. Here's a good illustration of the virtue of looking everything up. This is one of the all-time record-setting worst brands to resell in used clothing. It's worth basically nothing unless it's vintage Izod Lacoste. I think they used to be partnered, or Izod produced Lacoste shirts. So if you find vintage Izod Lacoste polo shirts in good condition, those are definitely worth buying. But standard Izod stuff, I just avoid like the plague. I looked this up. I actually passed by it at first and went back because I thought, as I was looking at other tags, this is probably a nicer golf course, or is it, yeah, golf club. This is probably an organization with renown and with a lot of money if they would invest in their own brand tag instead of just using the standard Izod and having their embroidered logo, which they have here. So I looked up Marion Golf Club shirt, and it was 3 actives and like 26 solds. And the stuff that did sell, minimum $20. So, great illustration of why it is a good idea to slow down if you're gonna do this and look everything unusual up on your phone, which is really tedious and it hurts your neck unless you hold the phone up like this because you're constantly looking at the phone. You want to go fast, but if you go slow, you find stuff like that. But then you don't have to sit on it forever and accumulate a giant bank of clothing that is not selling. This is the rare Polo Ralph Lauren pickup for me, and it's because of this This is a rugby polo shirt, I believe. These big graphics add novelty and a little bit better sell-through to these. This might as well be some kind of religious mantra that I repeat, sort of like my description of my sourcing strategy, my high sell-through sourcing strategy. Polo Ralph Lauren stuff, typically not worth picking up. The market is saturated, you're gonna overspend for your inventory, and it's not gonna go for enough or quickly enough to make it worth your time. But novel stuff in brands like that, Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger, etc., really novel stuff or really old stuff or specific niches within that brand can bring better money. Another good example of going slow. Didn't recognize that, looked it up, and the sell-through isn't insane. I think the sell-through is around 50%, but used shirts are selling for around 50 bucks. And I think I saw a couple for around 100. Never seen that brand before, may never see it again. And this shirt actually has some issues. It's got some scum on the inside of the hem here, so I'll have to wash it before I sell it. That one might have been half off as well. Probably not. And you don't care. Here's a bread and butter bolo when it comes to doing this kind of sourcing. Nike Pro Combat stuff. I used to say men's only, but I've since kind of come to include women's stuff, and that is a universal buy. I think the men's stuff still has a little bit better sell-through, but I mean, Nike Pro Combat stuff, I've never listed it and had it in my store for longer than 2 weeks. As long as you don't price it way up insanely high. Another tag that I had seen once or twice before. I remember seeing this and not buying it, and I looked it up again, and it was close to 100% sell-through. It was like 150 actives to 120 sold, something like that. That's still acceptable to me. There's always going to be margin for error in all of this. I mean, I've bought shirts doing this method that have sat in my inventory for half a year to a year. It's not foolproof. But typically, I mean, if it's around there, you take good photos, you price it well, it's going to move. And I remember finding this tag before, not buying it because I ran the numbers at the time and they weren't satisfactory, but things change. It's always good to take the temperature of particular brands that you take for granted as not being worth buying, because the market changes and stuff that you assume has high sell-through, that bottom can fall out from under it. A good example is the brand Brixton, which is a surf and skatewear company based up in Oceanside, which is really close to me. I live in San Diego. Used to be over 100% sell-through for everything Brixton. It was one of my buy-on-site brands. Whatever it was, I would buy it, it would sell. And then I noticed that my Brixton stuff stopped selling. I looked it back up and it had plummeted to like 50% sell-through or less. And now I don't buy it at all. And same with J. Crew. J. Crew men's shirts used to sell awesome, almost universally. It was the rare, really common brand that had really high sell-through, satisfactory for my expectations. And then it just went away. It just stopped being very in demand. So you should stay on your toes. But still, sometimes use your eye. I know in the like Opus video that I shot when I first started this channel, I say don't trust your eye. I don't know that I really believe that so much or so zealously anymore. This is a good example. I almost didn't buy it because I thought that it was just some, and maybe it is, some private company. But if you look at the helicopter, it is Marines branded. This is a Marines shirt, and that's I think the USMC logo. And this kind of military stuff does have a following, I believe. So this will appeal to a military person. This will also appeal to an irony person who just wants a novel, funny shirt. So, I mean, that was a risk, taking a gamble, but it's only probably, I think that was probably $6, so should pay off. I'll just price it at like 25. So that was it for the Salvation. No, it wasn't it for the Salvation Army. I also found this most important find of the day. This is not for sale. This is a, I believe, first edition paperback of Pet Sematary, and I have a great big weakness for these vintage horror and sci-fi novels. I turned 33 last week, so I'm technically rounding the corner on middle age, and it is time to start pathologically collecting something for no reason, so it might as well be old books. This is another one that I just bought on a gut check. Huff stuff doesn't have crazy high sell-through, but this is pretty novel, and I think the guy just died recently. So, and that was 40% off, $5. Here's another good example of something that I took for granted as not being worth buying, and then I ran the numbers a few times, and lo and behold, my prejudice was incorrect. Duluth Trading Co. stuff I'm finding is almost universally 100% sell-through. And these big polos, this specific size, 2XL tall, was, I think, 300% sell-through. And this is going to have to go in a padded flat rate because this is over a pound, but the solds that I saw were between 25 and 30 bucks. Here is a new with tags Nike Golf polo shirt that I got for $4, and it does have this embroidered on the sleeve. This might be the casino. That's a casino, right? Might be something. This is the kind of thing that some guy probably is not going to mind wearing. And new with tag stuff as a clothing seller is going to become more and more important to pick up as we move deeper into Q4. Unfortunately, last year was pretty rough. I get the impression that used clothing sales tend to plummet during Q4, and hopefully that's not the case this year, but it definitely was last year, so I'm trying to buy those new with tags pieces when I can, because they're less vulnerable to that seasonal pressure, because people are not embarrassed to give new with tags clothing to their friends and loved ones, but used clothing maybe so, unless it's something vintage or cool or whatever. This is another gut check. John Varvatos shirts. I've said many times these button-down shirts or button-up shirts, the long-sleeve shirts, don't have very good sell-through, but this was 40% off, and this is called a Mandarin collar. Or maybe there's another term for it. That's what I understand it to be, and it just has kind of this linen-y texture. And looking at it, there's enough kind of visual intrigue to this piece to where I think if I list this at 25 bucks, that should sell a little bit quicker than the standard collared dress shirts, etc. So the first stop was, I think, 45 bucks, around there, and then this was 14. So back to basics, back to the bread and butter selling, and trying to get my sales back up, because they are tanking, and I have enough experience to know that this just happens from time to time. You will just have a hell week where you sell like 0 to 2 things per day for a week, and I used to lose my mind and panic and speculate about why it was happening, etc., etc. If I had to guess, I would probably say it's because I've been doing a lot of the bag sale stuff and just grabbing opportunistically stuff that's cheap, not necessarily in demand, and that constitutes a big portion of my inventory, even though it is pretty huge at this point. I have a lot of stuff. I would guess at least a third of that is from the bag sale. So stuff that's going to sit for a while, or formal wear, which takes longer to sell. I'm sure this is boring at this point to hear about, but this is tried and true. This method for used clothing selling is what has served me the best over the months and years, and back at it. Rest in peace to the bag sale. Thanks for watching, guys.